Hello, everyone. Well, thanks for the warm intro. Well, it's good to be here. Thanks for Stellar and SDF for the invitation. First of all, I'm Fabricio Tota. I'm a new business development vice president at Mercado Bitcoin, a company that I've joined, 6 years ago, a lot of time, especially in crypto. And I'm going to talk a little bit and share with you my insights for you to understand the crypto landscape in LatAm. Definitely is not something extensive that you will know everything about LatAm, but for sure, I think it will help you a little bit to understand this thriving region and maybe leading or not, let's see, of what's going on there. I think that, first of all, I want to share that typically, especially when there are some Brazilian folks here, and if you are from Brazil or from any other country in Latin America, typically you hear, oh yeah, I know what you guys have been on in Latam, and crypto can help to solve a lot of our problems. Yes, it is it's true, but it's quite different, you know, each country of the region. I won't say a thing about every country in Latin, first because there's a lot of countries, second because I personally doesn't know exactly everything to tell you guys about all the countries in Latin America, but I'll share 4 different use cases here of crypto and how people in general are using that in Latin America. First of all, Argentina, you know. Argentina, they are struggling against inflation, struggling economy for a long time. You know, our neighbors, every now and then, Brazilians are going to Argentina to sip some wine, to eat some great food, you know, and to meet our hermanos. But well, in the last at least 5 years or something, they're fighting with an inflation rate of over 40% a year, every year, and last year over 200% a year. That has destroyed the purchasing power of their currency, and fortunately, for some people at least, they have found a way of buying US dollars using crypto. You can ask, say, but wow, why not buying real dollars or having a bank account in dollars, because it's impossible. There's a lot of capital control in Argentina. Actually, it's not that it's impossible, but you have a very low limit of what you can do in terms of buying foreign currency in Argentina. So people found at first Bitcoin, you know, buying Bitcoin as a way of, well, I can buy dollars or buy whatever I can with the money that will have no purchasing power in, well, 2, 3, 4, 6 months, whatever. And with stable coins, people are starting buying stable coins at first on a P2P basis. But now a lot of companies, they have built business around this opportunity. You can have have your bank account at a crypto bank, like, you know, that you put your money in Argentinian pesos, and you can buy stablecoins. So that's the way people in general and companies are building stuff on top of it, are using crypto in Argentina. In Mexico, completely different stuff. You know, the corridor US-Mexico is the largest one in terms of trade and FX. And about 10% of this corridor today is done using crypto. So the use case most widespread, you know, in Mexico is people working in US and sending money home using crypto as an infrastructure, which is great. You know, I think that of course, even in Argentina, other opportunities come around also, but what has built a very strong company for our friends of Bitso, for example. They have built a very strong company. They're even hitting Brazil, but the main use case there is remittance, especially from US to Mexico. Venezuela. Some can say that it's very similar to Argentina, but I would go further. I think it's have some similarities, but it's much worse. It's not only protecting your money, but protecting yourself against an economy that has, collapsed completely. A government that wants a lot of control over people. You can imagine that about 20 to 25% of Venezuela's population has left the country. So it's really hard, when we're struggling against the government of your country. It's completely dysfunctional. So it's much worse than Argentina, actually. So crypto is a way of providing any kind of financial freedom to people that are still trying to resist and live in Venezuela, against repression. It's really hard. I think it's another level more than only economic stuff, and day-by-day usage. And finally, Brazil, Brazil, we do have some inflation, but comparing to other countries, comparing to Argentina, for example, is very much under control, and typically Brazilians, they have pretty good options to protect themselves against inflation. Use fixed income in Brazil. If you do have money, you want to protect your wealth somehow, you can buy Brazilian bonds, just like T-bills, something like that, that make over 5% over the inflation rate in the country. And people, they do like to use Brazilian reais. They do like, they do their math, on their minds using Brazilian reais. And we have a very good and thriving investment ecosystem in Brazil. Not crypto, but traditional investments. Back then, 15, 20 years ago, something like that, a lot of IFAs, advisors, independent financial advisors, they start growing a lot in Brazil, trying to offer some kind of services to people, not ultra high net worth people, but people that likes to invest and start learning a little bit about it and say, hey, take your money out of your bank and use an advisor to help you invest. In Brazil, it's very common. People solve all their financial problems it's a one-stop shop, the big banks. But typically at a big bank, you get a very poor investment options. Typically, only the banks own investment instruments. So these IFAs, they have been very successful on their strategy. They grew a lot. We have, a huge ecosystem of IFAs and other companies around it to offer different, wide options of investment opportunities in Brazil. So in Brazil, what happened is that this revolution on investment happened more or less at the same time as the crypto market was growing and evolving. And Bitcoin, Ether, and all the other options came as a super aggressive way of putting money in something out of the stock exchange, out of fixed income products, out of funds in general. So, of course, there's a wide usage for other things, like, for example, cross-border payments. But Brazil, even though we are in the region, as you saw at the map, we're kind of it's a very unique way. We're not too connected. The Brazilians, they live on the coast, and all the other countries are on the other side of the country that not so many people live. We are the only Portuguese-speaking country in the region, that makes connections. We're not too connected to the other countries. So cross-border is not such a thing like in Mexico, for example, even though the usage is super high, especially for buying goods from Asia in general, especially China. But I want, as a Brazilian, and Mercado Bitcoin being a Brazilian company, I'd like to go deeper on the Brazil ecosystem, and especially on the use case that I want to bring you guys here. So this is the growth of the investments, the investors actually at the stock exchange, much of them brought by the IFAs that I mentioned before. At Mercado Bitcoin, We have over 4 million clients. We're a company founded back in 2013. So, well, in 11 years, we're able to bring a lot of people to the platform. We don't put ourselves anymore as a crypto exchange, but much more a digital assets platform, because you can buy crypto, over 200 different crypto assets, but also tokenized products from fixed income. You can buy startup equities, for example, and you can have even regulated products like funds, like equity crowdfunding, and we are also a payment institution regulated by the Brazilian Central Bank. So it would be very poor, you know, if I say, hey, I'm a crypto exchange. I was a crypto exchange 13 years ago, 11 years ago, sorry, but right now we are much more than that. And one very important thing here is that what brought Brazil to this position of having very strong environment in general for crypto, and for some, you know, as the a possible potential hub for the region. This guy here, he's the governor of the Brazilian Central Bank. His name is Roberto Campos Neto. Probably if you get the last presentation that he gave at whatever event you can think about it. Probably the word token is more often on his presentation than on mine. The last time I count, it was 16 times that he mentioned tokenized, tokenization, or something like that on his presentations. Just because he is an enthusiast of crypto and blockchain uses in general, and has pushed a lot the ecosystem in Brazil. Brazil is developing, for example, our own version of CBDC. You know, tokenization is something that this guy, this former banker, actually, and he's been at the central bank for 4 years. Unfortunately, he's leaving by the end of this year. But this guy is every time is talking about the tokenized economy and what tokenization can bring to the ecosystem. This is a saying of his in an event that we held 3 weeks ago, that he was the one responsible for the final remarks, saying that we are transitioning to a tokenized economy, and not because it was a Mercado Bitcoins event, but anytime, in any event, he's talking about that. It's important to mention that Mercado Bitcoin, as a crypto-born company, we're able to build an event 3 weeks ago, and I'm super proud of talking about that, with other folks like BlackRock, for example, Fireblocks, and exactly in the middle point between TradFi and crypto, and we're able to have Mr. Roberto Campos Neto and 2 other regulators, you know, from the Securities Commission. It's kind of having Gary Gensler, you know, at a US crypto event. It's completely out of anyone's mind, but not because we are Mercado Bitcoin, but because these guys are real enthusiasts of tokenization. But we see that they are the best regulator, not only for crypto, but to innovation in general. More than the DREX, the CBDC, the central bank has a long journey on innovation, especially, and there's very important thing that is PIX, the payment system that we have in Brazil is a near real-time payment system, completely free. The biggest banks, they need to implement in a very specific way, super hard to do it. They offer for free, rich people use, not so rich people use use also. The big cities are adopting, the small cities are adopting. We are 218 people, a million people country, and we have over 150 million people using PIX. If it was fintech, the Central Bank of Brazil would be the largest fintech in Brazil for sure. That brings the opportunity for us of RWA tokenization. We know that the central bank, they like it, but they won't do much thing, you know, about it. So I think that in terms of course, all you guys know what RWA tokenization means, you know, but there's a very specific way that we at Mercado Bitcoin, we are approaching tokenization. typically what we're seeing in terms of tokenization, we're seeing a lot of, for example, T-bills tokenization, which is great. We're seeing a lot of mutual funds tokenization, which is great also. But that idea that probably the first time that you guys heard about tokenization, something that, hey, it unlocks liquidity because you bring liquidity to illiquid assets. Come on, let's see. T-bills are not exactly liquid, right? It's just the opposite. Increased transparency, okay, that's good, but sometimes you don't need to increase transparency. You know, you're pretty okay of what you're doing, the way you're trading some assets. Faster and cheaper structuring. This is super important, and that can bring a lot of interest to the tokenization ecosystem and global access that is still a very difficult way. It's not because it is on-chain that is accessible to everyone. Distribution is made jurisdiction by jurisdiction. That's something that we are learning, you know, these days. For us, our approach is say, hey, how can we at Mercado Bitcoin really brings liquidity to illiquid assets? Typically, people say, hey, let's bank them banked, which is great, but it's something that we in Latin America hear a lot of times also, but maybe you don't need to bank them banked. But what about giving better access to capital markets to companies that typically don't have? In Brazil, for example, small and medium businesses, they struggle to have access to the capital markets. What happens is that too expensive, you know, and typically the large banks, you know, that can give access to the capital markets, if you're going to issue a debt of about, you know, $10 million, they say, hey, that doesn't pay even my team, you know, I can't make money out of these small issuances, so get other kinds of credit, you know, and I have a bank that can give you a credit with crap interest rates for the company. So this idea of building a DCM, you know, an investment bank inside this digital asset platform that is Mercado Bitcoin was our approach. So definitely with lower costs, we can give access to more companies, and we have the kind of the perfect environment to do it because of these 4 million clients that at first they were targeting and they became clients of Mercado Bitcoin to buy any kind of crypto asset. Now they can have access to this brand new kind of assets like receivables, like debt, like football-related products, like energy receivables also. We have tokenized over 10 different asset classes at Mercado Bitcoin and matching, you know, these companies underserved in the TradFi market and these investors that typically they won't see this kind of products in the traditional financial market also. So I think that this match, you know, inside the same company, the same ecosystem was key for us to be very successful. We have tokenized over $120 million in over 250 different issuances since 2019. It's an end-to-end approach, you know, just like investment banking, you know, finding the assets, originating the assets to be tokenized, and structuring, you know, see if it fits in any regulation or not, and what can be done, if you have any other alternatives, until when we tokenize and do the on-chain representation. So far, due to regulation, we issue what some folks are calling the twin tokens. You know, it's a token representing a real-world asset, and you need to certify that everything that happens with the real asset happens with the token also. We believe that in the near future, we'll have the DNA, the digital native assets. For example, some kind of debt instrument. It's not that you're going to issue on TradFi, then tokenizing, but the token itself is going to be not the representation, but the asset itself. Well, what we have tokenized so far, have mentioned some of them, but corporate debt, receivables, credit card receivables, and consortium quotas, a very Brazilian thing that is a huge success. It doesn't last 2 hours in the platform, each issuance that we do with consortium quotas. We can go in further details after this talk if you guys want. And I think that the most important thing that can really help Brazil to grow a lot in terms of tokenization is the DREX. All of you may have heard of a CBDC. In Brazil, the CBDC, due to this unique position of Brazil in terms of the use cases of crypto and what the financial system and the central bank they have built over the past 10 or 15 years, some use cases were just not so obvious. For example, let's build a CBDC like other countries to make it easy to make payments. You don't need that, we have PIX. So let's partner with the region to make it easier for cross-border payments. Maybe, well, our main partners are China, US, Europe, and so on. Maybe it's not the best idea. So they're building the CBDC, and DREX not only stands for the name of the CBDC, but also the name of the platform. The government is going to issue the CBDC that only financial institutions are going to have access. You, me, for example, any Brazilians, as individuals, they won't have the possibility of having DREX in their pockets, in their personal wallet. Only the banks are going to hold. So that future, that no one's the terrible or whatever, they know everything you're doing, and they can even stop you of buying any kind of good if they want. It's completely preposterous. That won't happen in Brazil, at least for now. But the idea of having a platform of where you can find the DREX, the CBDC itself, and also issue your own tokens at this very same platform. You know, have an ecosystem of transaction on anything that you want is what can bring Brazil to a very highlighted position in the region and even in the world. And to tell people what's it about, the example that the guys love to give is when you're buying or selling a car. You deal with documents, you go to a place, you know, to a notary or something to make the transaction. You give the document or you pay first, you know, you have to avoid scammers and so on. With DREX, it's a simple transaction, you know, that a smart contract can take care from one side to the other, and giving the propriety of the property of the vehicle from one part to the other also. So that's something that everybody understands. Everybody has been before, you know, in this kind of situation, and it's only one textbook example, you know, but the idea is that you can put anything on this platform to be traded 24/7 with smart contracts capabilities and being operated by the financial system. That's it, guys. There's a State of Digital Assets Brazil document that I was supposed to have a QR code for you guys. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it in time, but you can contact me using LinkedIn, Fabricio Tota from Mercado Bitcoin. It will be a pleasure to share with you guys these documents. Thank you so much.